Hello, this is Solar PV TV, once again from IPVEA. This time we are in our executive panel discussion with equipment manufacturers, with two big companies and one smaller, but very specialized. I would like to guys to make short presentation of your companies, very short, and especially in which part of value chain for the equipment manufacturing you are present and why. We start with Domenico.
Thank you to invite me here. I make a very short presentation about our company that is small, so I have to be quick. Our company is started in the 98, but my experience is coming from 86, so I am quite a pioneer, and I see all the automation coming in the PV. And I decided in the 98 to start with many automation in cell and module, but at the end I decided I have to specialize in the emerging market, so small line for newcomers and in the module manufacturing. So I try to specialize in this part of the field because I think that for our size of company is the best solution. We are located close to Venice, 1 hour from Venice, not part of Italy. All the machines are designed and product in our factory, so this is some value that we wanted to add to the product that we do. But this is more or less our philosophy. Close to the customer and make very simple and friendly machine.
What about Singulus?
Yeah, thank you. Singulus is a company since many years now in the solar industry, and we are producing machines, wet chemistry machines, so for etching, PSG removal, and also for coating, wet chemical coatings. And one of our other special areas are vacuum coating machines for crystalline silicon production, so that means PECVD machines, anti-reflective coating machines, rear side passivation. And we are also strong in thin film area, specifically CIGS coating machines, sputtering machines, PVD sputtering machines, furnaces, and chemical coating machines.
What about Meyer?
We are a technology company along the complete value chain of crystalline solar technology. Meyer is also a company which is it's long time in the solar market, in the wafering section. Myself, I founded 3S, which merged in 2010 with Meyer, which was strong in the module part. So we brought in the module part, and in 2010, with the acquisition of Rothendrau, we closed the gap. So we have today the core technologies along the value chain of crystalline technology with all the equipments and machines from wafering, from the source, from coating machines in the cell production to the module production to the equipment in this field. And we need this in order that we can make the next technology steps and that we can bring forward the technology to reduce the cost of PV.
Okay, Patrick, so as you have the microphone, maybe I can ask you, what is your feedback from the event? How do you feel the, I would say, feeling within the industry? Is it improved?
If you compare to the last years, the general feeling improved. So we see in the last years we were in the dark tunnel, nobody knew exactly where it's going, and the customer interests were small because they were not in production. We had large inventories. So we see this year that there's a general, the feeling is improving. Generally to this event here in Paris, it's a very strong academic event. There's a conference with a lot of interesting topics, of new topics, and the challenge is to get this technologies which are developed in a much faster way to the market, to the industry, to the technology and equipment suppliers, to transfer these technologies to the market, to products, to increase PV.
And what about Singulus? Your booth was one of the most busy booths here on the exhibition. You launched also some new equipment for the cell manufacturing. What is your feeling?
Yeah, so indeed, first of all, if we are looking back now, we had some difficult years behind us. So there was a huge oversupply, and specifically for the equipment manufactured, it was difficult in the remaining 2 years. But now we see, let me say, some light at the end of the tunnel. So we had very good discussions during this fair here. We had a lot of customers there, new customers which are interested in new products to improve efficiency and to reduce costs. And we could sign some very interesting orders. So just before the fair, we could sign an order for nearly 20 machines for rear side passivation for silicon wafers with aluminium oxide. This was a very, very important order for us, and it's showing that now the industry is recovering and starting again to invest into equipment to improve cost and efficiency, as I already said. And we also had some very interesting discussions during this fair with some companies which want to invest in thin film technology. So CIGS is really the technology which is leading, where a lot of requirements are there from the market. We developed a lot of machines in this remaining years, in the remaining 2 years. So we took the time, even when it was very difficult, and we invested a lot of money to develop new machines and new technologies, which we can now offer. And that is what we're feeling now. The industry is asking for these new technologies and new ideas because they have now a little bit of money to invest to improve the situation, the overall situation. And we have seen some interest coming from all areas in the world, so that means specifically from Asia, and we have a lot of international guests here on this fair. So a lot of questions and interest from Asia, specifically from China and Taiwan, but also from North America and from Europe. So it was a good fair for us, and again, we see some light at the end of the tunnel now. We see that the investment is coming back and that the industry is somehow recovering a little bit, and we expect, let me say, a kind of breakthrough mid of the year, mid of next year, end of next year, and so we are very hopefully looking into the next year.
So now I would like to ask Domenico. Domenico, we are becoming almost family because since 4 weeks we met in Dubai, in New Delhi, in São Paulo, and now we meet in Paris on a lot of continents. So you are traveling a lot. And how would you compare this fair with the first exhibitions on the emerging markets? Do we have also like a optimistic and positive attitude here still, like on the emerging markets?
Yes, I agree what says my colleagues that this event is smaller than in the past, but the quality of the contact was good, also from Ecoprogetti, and the international customer was here. So the people is coming back to the real investment in the industry. It's clear that all our effort, like Ecoprogetti, is to give the possibility to the customer to be cost effective in the competition that is quite hard in this moment, mainly if we look to the grid parity. So what we see that we try to design something for the emerging market is the reason that we see each other so often in the exhibition. But I think that this is the best one in terms of quality of the contact that we have done up to now in this four. It's clear that like Ecoprogetti we are quite well positioning in India, where we have our office, with the emerging market, where we give a small line that is able to give the same quality and the same cost effect in the production. And this is something that is, with the local content concept that is coming more and more, this is quite, I think, a plus that the people is taking with them now.
So I would like to ask you one more question, and also this question to other speakers. So during the beginning of the year, we are facing, I would say, the anti-dumping case. Especially we didn't know what will be the final decision of the European Commission. We didn't know if there will be any agreement reached or not. So people were very pessimistic about the manufacturing in Europe. With the new agreement between China and Europe on the minimum price for the modules, there is again a lot of hope on the manufacturing in Europe. Do you feel from the point of view of equipment manufacturers there is still a need of manufacturing in Europe, or how it will develop in Europe, or the whole manufacturing will move rather outside Europe? I would like to ask you on this question.
If we look like Ecoprogetti to our turnover up to now, I have a 50% in Europe and 50% out of Europe. So in this moment I can say that for me Europe is still a good market and good possibility for the production, for the equipment. Like I said before, it's clear that a small line can go everywhere in the region. So it's a regional line. This is our segment of market. And I think that there are still possibility. Also, I'm waiting new technology coming from the cell, from the research about especially in the cell manufacturing. So the possibility, new equipment, new replacing equipment, so on. I think not so. I see the light at the end of the tunnel, like say my colleague.
So maybe Stephan, as you are representing cell, especially cell equipment manufacturers, do you still think that there is opportunity in Europe for the cell production, for example?
Yeah, of course, there is an opportunity, and I think it's very important for the PV industry on a worldwide base. If I look on Americas, on Asia and Europe, it's a very, very important technology and industry for the future to develop, let me say, and to produce energy. So we need a lot of companies in all areas of the triad. So that means in China, in Asia, in Americas, and also here in Europe. And I think there is a good future also for production companies in Europe. Of course, we have to learn out of the remaining years with all these price reductions, and we have seen a lot of companies around the world struggling with profit, and we have seen a lot of companies which made losses. And we have to learn from that. It doesn't make sense to sell below production cost and only to stay in the business. So that means we shouldn't, let me say, destroy the market with too low prices. So that means everybody has to be realistic in all areas of the triad to make sure that we are profitable industry. And we also have to make sure that we can keep also production in all areas of the triad. Yeah? We need a strong China and we need a strong Asia. We need also a strong Europe and North America. So that's very important for our industry. Otherwise, we cannot be that international anymore. So to keep what we are, we have to make sure that it is working and that we have the full value chain in all areas.
And Patrick, so you are representing the company which is representing the whole value chain in the equipment manufacturing. And from the point of view of the whole value chain, do you think that there is an opportunity for the whole value chain production in Europe, or maybe from some part of the value chain?
I'm persuaded personally that there's an opportunity in Europe for the whole value chain. If you look at the perspectives of the International Energy Agency, PV will become a major source for the global energy mix. So it will be much bigger than today. So today we're still at the beginning. If we're looking where we are developing, and Europe has strong R&D, has a strong industrial base, equipment manufacturer base, and it's important. PV is decentralized. We will need in the different continents this experience. Asia will remain the biggest market due to the energy demand, the energy increase, but also Europe is an important point. So I think there is place for manufacturing in all the continents.
Okay, so another question, I would say, like 3-4 years ago, we are observing in the industry that a lot of companies would like to become, like a leader in the high efficiency modules with the new technologies, etc. But due to such a quick development of the market, and especially driven by the feed-in tariffs, it slightly changed to the cheaper technologies and the most cost-effective in terms of kilowatt-hour production. So let's say that people more focus on the cheaper technologies, which can bring not high efficiency modules, but especially modules which can produce kilowatt-hour at the lower costs, especially taking into account the investment cost. And do you notice that now, when we are finishing the feed-in tariffs in Europe, especially in Europe, companies, they are returning to this idea of being the technology leader?
Of course, the question is, what is the point where you're focusing at? Are you focusing at the watt peak, how it was so far that people were talking due to the tariffs about the installed power, or are you focusing at the kilowatt hour produced in different climatic zones? So we'll see with utilities entering, with PPAs coming in the large volumes also in emerging markets, where PV becomes part of the energy mix. So what counts is basically the kilowatt hour you're getting on a given surface at a given cost, so the kilowatt hour costs. And that's exactly where Meyer Burger is pushing and focusing the technology that we develop, technologies and heterojunction, which is made for long living time in places where you have a lot of dust, where you have hot temperatures, where you need to have a lot of kilowatt hours. So we see a shift, and we have to have these shifts towards kilowatt hours installed, because PV becomes part of the energy mix. And the community has to understand this, and we are driving this as with the equipment manufacturers which are supplying the technology.
And what about other speakers?
Yeah, I think that's very important that we still work for improvements, cost improvements, efficiency improvements, and that's always driving the industry forward. And I would like to say we have to try on a daily basis to improve things, to make the impossible of today happen tomorrow. So that means we have to gain for cost reduction, we have to gain for higher efficiency, and we will see a lot of good ideas, and specifically on this fair where we have all these scientific speeches and the new ideas coming up, we will see in a couple of years that the high efficiency concepts, which we see today very, very expensive, that they will be as cost effective as, let me say, the lower technologies. Yeah? And that's how we have to drive our industry forward. We all have to work together on these targets, and I'm sure that we will have in a couple of years always efficiencies, when I'm looking on crystalline business, above 20%. Yeah? And thin film is heading to go above 15, 16 on the module base. So we have a lot of good ideas which we will introduce in the industry to make sure that the electricity cost per kilowatt hour, as you mentioned, will come down. So efficiency is an important target, cost effective is also an important target. We are working on that, and I'm sure we will bring very good new ideas to the market to reduce, at the end of the day, the electricity cost for the end user.
So Stephan, maybe just when do you think people, the companies, will start invest in the new technologies rather than upgrading the current mainstream technologies?
Yeah, of course, that's a very interesting question. So I think we will see two areas. There are a lot of companies which have now existing machines. They have done a lot of investments in what they have today. And of course, they are trying now to utilize these equipment which they have. So in the beginning, we will see a kind of upgrade. Yeah. So PERC, for example, rear side passivation will be important business for the coming years. But then we also see people and companies which are starting new. And we will see companies which are, let me say, investing in new machinery because they need that because of expansion and so on. They will also then go for new cell architectures. So that means we will see both areas to come. And so for a couple of years, upgrade is important, and then we see new cell concepts coming.
And what is the opinion of Domenico? Domenico, you are in the business since '86. So if you observe the past, how would you guess for the future?
My opinion is that we cannot go away from to grow up with the efficiency, grow up with new solution, because without that there is no chance. So I think that these have something that have to be together with the control of the cost, the reduction of the cost, because at the end I agree that the kilowatt hour is the main driving in the choice of the people, and this is the most important thing. It's the reason that in our segment, like Ecoprogetti, we try also to design machine that is able to meet also the new technology that is coming without a very low investment. So when we design a machine, for instance, now we present here some machine just for measurement the past, so the model that was done in the past, because I think that in the past there was many things. So we try to design machine that is able to collect the possibility of the improvement easily without to make big investment to change all the machine because the technology is changed. So we have to make some process, some road that with low investment we are able to upgrade more and more the efficiency and the feedback of that have to be the low cost, the low price of a kilowatt hour. I agree that the solar is the most important energy for 2030, 2050, and the mix of energy have to be mainly in Asia, Africa. We forgot before to say South America, that is also quite an emerging market from our company. And this is the kilowatt hour is the driving. But we cannot achieve that without go up with the technology and with the improvement in the research and new things.
So,
can I make?
Please.
If I can make a comment on this, we also see an upgrade market today where we have products, but we see in the new markets a big interest in new technologies as well, where you can design, like with the smart wire concept, for example, where you can design products fitting to these markets. So there are different aspects, market segmentation from existing customers and from new customers. So today we have upgrade market, which is working, which is recovering, but there is also the increased interest in new technologies, like all from the equipment manufacturing side, which we supply, which we need to decrease the cost of the kilowatt hour.
So Patrick, would you like to also comment, Stephan, or we can go to another question?
Oh, I think we can go ahead, but in general, to summarize a little bit, kilowatt per hour. This is what we have to head for, and this is our target where we are working on a daily basis. Let me say it this way.
So let's speak now a little bit about the future. So when do you think realistically the new rush in the buying of equipment will start amongst the manufacturers? So now we are in the period that the sales on the equipment side were decreasing. Now it starts to stabilize. And when do you see that the industry will really recover and they will start also the new investment in the equipment? And why?
I think we will see three different waves to come. One is, I don't want to say which one is coming first, but one is, of course, we see now a lot of companies around the world improving their existing lines towards better efficiency. And once there are a couple of companies who are already able to deliver more efficient cell concept, the others will also invest. So this is a wave which is starting slowly, but we expect this is becoming stronger and stronger because everybody has, let me say, to deliver at the end of the day very cost-effective cells, high efficiency modules and so on. So this is one important thing. The second thing is that we still have an oversupply. So we know that the, let me say, installed production capacity around the world is much higher than the demand. And sooner or later there will become a match. And as soon as the demand is as high as the production capacity, and don't ask me when this point will be reached, but as soon as this will be reached, we will see a next wave of investments to come. And this will be then very, very strong. That's my let me say, learning from other industries, where it's like switching on a light. Yeah. So this is a second wave, and then we see a third one, which is maybe smaller, and that was already discussed from you. We see some emerging markets like South America. We see maybe in Africa some countries to come, Middle East, which will also then invest into solar production capacity to make sure that they have a local content and that there are also people being involved in production of solar panels. So this is another third wave to come, and hopefully these three will not come automatically all together, because then we have also some difficulties again as equipment suppliers. But they will come, we are sure, and we are looking forward within the next year that we can start and recover again.
So Domenico and Patrick, do you agree with the waves theory of Stephan?
Yes, sure. If I speak about my personal feeling, I think that never come back at the rush time, like you say, like was maybe 3, 4, 5 years back. This is gone. There is any more the time when the people come in the exhibition falling in love for photovoltaic. So have to be work at daily basis, every day, to found a new customer, to convince new customer. What I found that the customer is much more, they know much more about the market, they know much more what they are going in front. And I like to work with this kind of customer. Because sometimes come the customer that they are fall in love and that's all. But after many of these customers, they fail. I prefer to work with the customer that really work in the daily basis. You know that it's hard job to compete in the market, but this customer is what the customer that go on for the future. So I don't think that come back the rush, but come the market and there is space, a lot of space. We think that we increase our turnover. This year we don't, we increase in the turnover, and we're waiting also to increase for the next year. But this is something that is not a rush, it's daily work.
It's more stable.
Yeah.
What about Patrick?
I like the waves theory, and I think there are things which are outside of our hands. PV is in many places of the world today, is economically the best solution, but it depends on two things, on politics first and on finances. And politics, you cannot influence them, and depending how it changes, the wave can be very fast. I don't hope it will be a tsunami, or it can be slower. So we see in different countries, and we have a lot of contacts in this phases where discussions are done about integrating PV into the energy mix. So the growth will come, and we'll have the growth. When it turns, and when the button is turned to the light, it's like looking in a silicon crystal ball. We see that we have much more activities. There are much more also interested customers which are really there. We need our clients to earn money as well, that they can reinvest. And so let's say like this, I think the risk today, when we're coming to the end of the tunnel, is lower since we are no more depending on one market. The last rush was really depending on everybody wanted to export to Germany without having any business cases. So today the industry comes into a more mature phase where the companies have business cases behind, have market access. So the point becomes for the equipment manufacturer, it's the risk becomes lower.
So maybe last, some more comments, so we can ask us.
I would like to comment on that. I think that's a very good point you just raised. That's financing. So let me say the reputation of that industry, of the solar industry, in the face of a lot of investors and banks is not the very best one. Yeah? So I would like to say, if you today ask for a credit, yeah, and for an investment into solar, the banks are not very happy and investors are not very happy, and that's because a lot of them lost money in solar industry, and let me say we have to work on the credibility. So that means we have to improve this industry. We all have to work together that the profits are increasing again, so that also our investors can earn money and can get their money back. Yeah? That's very important for the next growth area to come. So a very important thing. So we all together have to work on the reputation, let me say this and summarize it this way. And we also see now some, let me say, two roadblocks which we have to move away, two big stones. And one is, of course, let me say, decision of several countries and politicians to help that we can really feed in the electricity coming from photovoltaics into the grid. We see that in a lot of emerging countries where we have really to work with the politicians, that they help our industry to feed the power into the grid. That's one thing. And then we see a second roadblock to come, which we have now seen in some countries in Europe. That is, as soon as the electricity coming out of photovoltaics reach a certain level, then all of a sudden we have to do something to stabilize the grid. Yeah? And that is also something we see to come. So that means we have to work together very close with the power supplying industry and also with the storage systems to come, battery systems. So this is something we also have to look into to make sure that we can see growth even in the future.
Domenico, last comment.
Yes, just for add a small point, I think in my last 25 years that I produce and I work in the photovoltaic, all the time we was so much linked with the political decision. Every morning I was thinking, but this morning we still have the feed-in tariff and don't have the feed-in tariff. I think that the time to go away from this one is coming. We need from the politician only decision that say, this is how to fulfill the energy to the grid. This is the stable market where we can planning, because the investor, the people want to planning, not for 1 month, 2 months, dumping, not dumping. We want to have a stable market in front of us. And politician was one thing, the other was the financial. In some certain period of the photovoltaic installation was only financial game. I think that when we go away from these two things, we cannot go away from the politician, because in any case politicians have to fulfill the law to put the energy to the grid, but to have a long-term vision. Also for emerging market, we need a long-term vision. I think that when it's coming this time, great time is coming for who produce module, who make equipment, and we have to be happy to have the right income and the right profit, because without profit we die, everyone. So we need the right profit, not huge, but the right to survive and to make much more clean energy because the mix of clean energy is the future.
Okay, maybe last question to Stephan. I would like to ask first Stephan, because you were speaking a lot about that we should work together, because we are still at the beginning of the way, and you are a member of IPVEA, and you are also a member of IPVEA. I would like to ask you, how do you see the organization and the work of organization, and how do you see this organization can help to the industry to build the credibility, and how you can be involved in this as a company?
Yeah, so I think IPVEA is a very good organization on a worldwide base where we are also participating a lot, and with this organization we can really bring some ideas to the table where we feel this is important for all of us. And this is specifically in terms of financing. This is specifically discussing with certain countries, with the politicians. This is something to stabilize the directions of the laws, let me say, and you just raised it, to have an idea this year and to have the next idea and the next laws in place in the next year, yeah? So this is something we cannot work with as an industry. So that means we have to stabilize that, and we have to talk with the politicians to make sure that they stay to what they decide, yeah, and not running around every year. So, and the IPVEA is an excellent platform to organize that and to work as a lobby, let me say, to talk with certain countries, and it's very helpful, and so it's a good organization.
So, Patrick, which advice would you give to Brian, managing director of IPVEA? What they should still improve and what they should bring to the platform?
It's important that we have a stable end market global, that legislation is clear, that we do not have suddenly tax on the sun because one government needs some tax income, then we tax the sun. So no, let's make it serious. We have a big potential in PV, global. We need to be able to do it global cooperation. So this event here is excellent if you see it on the academic way, the global cooperation between the different continents and their sharing. There's a big potential, and this network of IPVEA and the lobby work which is done, and the platform basically where companies are sitting on the same table which compete in phases, but for the same. We have all the same market, and this market is big enough and will grow much more. But we need to be careful today. It's a paradigm shift. in the energy supply. It's a paradigm shift in the energy mix, which changed basically where ideas which were fixed since we have coal, since we have energy, this ideas needs to be changed, and everybody has to understand that, for example, that in Europe the electricity market model is dead and it will not come back because renewables got so strong. And so I think this is political work, this is a consolidating work between the industry, and therefore we need associations doing this, and that's, I think, the job for Brian.
Okay, so maybe Domenico, you are not a member, but what the organization should do in order to attract new members?
I think that when the organization is able to collect and to put it together and make some real lobby in order to, not a lobby for the special purpose or special profit of one company to another, but really to show to the political, to the people that the photovoltaic and the global solar energy is an opportunity for everybody. I think that this is the most important things that we have to push up and all the organization have to do.
So you would join in that case?
We'll see.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining our panel discussion, and see you on the occasion of other events with three very important companies in the manufacturing of equipment for the solar industry. Thank you very much for joining us. That was Solar PV TV from EU PVSEC in Paris.